Thank you, Chairman. The torture program that was run by the CIA has left a lasting stain. I want to recognize, while we're discussing it, the work that Chairman Rockefeller and Chairman Feinstein did on the Intelligence Committee, which was persistent and determined work against considerable executive opposition in both the Bush and Obama administrations. I want to also recognize the work the Judiciary Committee did. We had the hearing in this committee with the FBI interrogator who was extracted by the FBI and the Department of Justice when the FBI and Department of Justice got wind of the abuse that incompetent CIA contractors were applying in an effort to extract intelligence when they were in fact interrupting successful intelligence gathering by trained professionals. Senator McCain has been mentioned, and I want to thank particularly the Armed Services Committee under Chairman Levin and Senator McCain, who gave us on intelligence, where Levin and McCain sat as the chair and ranking members, and us in Judiciary, considerable support, moral and political support for getting to the bottom of the torture program. And what we're hearing now is that the torture program bedevils our ability to resolve the remaining detainees. This was always a problem. I believe that the Bush administration itself released more than 500 Gitmo detainees. So it's hard to say that this was a seamless, successful project of identifying and collecting really dangerous people when the people behind that, the Bush administration who set this up in the first place, released more than 500 out of Guantanamo. And now we're down to these last 39. And maybe our solution is like the man in the iron mask. We put them in dungeons forever de-identify them and hope that they all just go away. But that would be dramatically inconsistent with American values. My question to our two members in uniform is, describe what symbolic significance Guantanamo now has as a tool for our enemies and adversaries.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse. I think the best way to describe it to you is a conversation I had with a young soldier when I was down there at Guantanamo. And I would show up in the middle of the night because I wanted to make sure that we were treating the detainees properly. We did not indulge in enhanced interrogation techniques during that short period of time I was there, and I would not allow it. But this soldier asked me, a young 19-year-old kid, he says, "Sir, why are we treating them so well? They wouldn't treat us that way." And I said, "Soldier, you are exactly right. But if we treat them as they would treat us, we become them." And I would offer that we have, during this period of 20 years, surrendered our moral authority.
Sir, I agree with everything that General Leonard just said. There's one point that you raised that I would like to address, and that's this myth out there that the FBI engaged in these clean team statements. The FBI and the CIA were involved hand in fist throughout all this intelligence gathering that we're learning through these hearings down at Guantanamo Bay. And we're hiding all of that behind the secrecy of classified information.
Well, I think the key problem here, I think Ms. Justin described it, is that the continuing effort to keep this horrible secret is interfering with our ability to process these cases because we don't want the information to come out, and in return for hiding the horrible secret, we have to cut deals with the detainees. If we simply came clean about what was done, Ms. Justin, what would that do to the process going forward in terms of speeding things up and allowing greater clarity?
Thank you, Senator. In the case of my client, Mr. Khan, we were able to negotiate a guilty plea whereby he agreed to enter his plea pursuant to a long stipulation of fact that provided the clarity and the modicum of closure that we think is appropriate for the victims of these terrorist acts. So in that respect, through negotiating a guilty plea, we were able to achieve some measure of clarity and closure for the victims. In terms of his torture, it was years of negotiation with the government, at its height this year, preceding his sentencing, to enable him to give an unsworn statement that described what he was subjected to at the hands of the CIA. And for him, that was very important. And for the country, it's very important to have the measure of accountability that can bring about.
Mr. Chairman, I'm over my time, but I want to thank you for holding this hearing and for the attention that you're giving to the Department of Justice. A lot of this began, as you know, with completely inappropriate opinions offered by the Office of Legal Counsel. How do we know they were inappropriate? Because once they were public, the Department of Justice itself, under the same administration, disavowed them. And that was, in some respects, the original sin. And I don't think we've yet solved the problems at OLC that keep that original sin from repeating itself. And we're in active conversation about that, as you know. But thank you for your leadership, making sure that the Department of Justice doesn't get abused that way again.
I don't know if I'll be here 8 years from now. Maybe somebody else can take on that responsibility. But 8 years ago, we raised this question. And had we closed Guantanamo at that point, I think would be better off as a nation. Senator Cornyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, if this were easy,